Okay, trying it with headphones this time to see if maybe the sound quality doesn't suck so much. I could feel that this one's going to be really hard because I don't want to be mean, but also this book sucks. Hello everyone, it's Michaela back again with another video. I'm doing another book review, and this one will not be as glowing as the last ones that I posted. The book that I'm going to be reviewing this time I finished Sunday morning and it is now Tuesday afternoon. I needed some time to just sort of like sit with my feelings about this book because I had a lot of them. So this book is going to be difficult for me to talk about for a number of reasons, but sort of the biggest one is that, as you can see, I am a pasty white chick, and this book is written by an Indian woman and about a Indian girl, and I don't feel qualified to speak to the experience of being from another country, of being brown in America, of being an immigrant, any of those things. I am none of those things, so I can't speak to that. But I can speak to good storytelling, and this is not that. The book is Brown Girl Ghosted by Minty Das. This is a story of Violet, a 16-year-old girl in a small town in Illinois, who sort of basically has spent her entire social career trying to blend into the background. She was born in India, moved to America when she was very young, so she doesn't really remember India that much and doesn't really feel any connection with it, but she also feels this sense of ostracization. I can't say that word. Why did I attempt it? I can't say it. She feels put out or separate from the rest of her very white town, and so she tries to blend in so as to not draw even more attention to herself. That being said, she also has the ability to see ghosts, dead people, spirits. The problem is that the lore of this book is incredibly fluid and makes no sense at all. The rules of what Violet can do change a lot. It's just like whatever needs to happen to get the plot along is what happens. So I can't really describe what she does because I don't know. So like Violet belongs to this ancient line of warrior queens called the Aidio. I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. And these people are on the verge of fighting some huge apocalyptic battle, and she's a part of it, but she doesn't want to be because she just wants to be like normal like everybody else. Again, I don't understand it because even though it's weird because so much of the exposition for her powers and her lineage and all of this stuff are explained very plainly. Like there's no pomp and circumstance to them. It's just a lot of like dumping information on the reader, and yet it still doesn't make sense because it's just like a lot of information and it doesn't track from chapter to chapter, plot point to plot point. Things just change, things are mentioned but they never become relevant. There's just like so much crap to sift through that like I can't really describe the mystical portion of this story. But there's also a murder mystery in here because sort of the mean girl of Violet's high school, like the head of the dance cheer team, like sort of the girl that everybody wants to be. She's super rich, she's like a social media influencer. She gets murdered, and basically Violet has to use her ghost seeing being powers to figure out what happened to her and to put her soul to rest. And like kind of on paper that sounds cool. When I read that on the back that she's got these ghost seeing powers and someone from her high school gets murdered and it's up to her to figure it out, I was like, okay, like I'm totally on board for this. And then you actually read it and it's so bad. There are like a lot of things that really suck about this book. The writing is terrible. I mean, just the little like the words on the page, the sentence constructions. I am not convinced that this author has ever spoken to, met, or been a teenager ever. No teenager talk. Like the language in here would be dated like 10 years ago. But like, I mean, I'm assuming this is supposed to take place in 2020, which is when the book comes out, maybe like 2018, 2019, within the past few years. And like, these people are out loud saying OMG. No, that's not a thing people do anymore, unless maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't heard a human being unironically say OMG out loud since like 2006. So what do I know? This book is also jam-packed with 80s pop culture references, and this is sort of explained away by having the main character be really into 80s movies, even though that like it's never a part of her character except for her making these references or understanding these references when other people make them. But these references also don't serve anything. They're so self-congratulatory. Like multiple times in this book, a reference is made and then another character will, or the narrator will point out, hey, that was a reference to this thing. Like, holy shit, that's not how you do pop culture references. Like, I'm pretty sure there are no references to anything past like 1995, which as someone born in 1995, that was not a long time ago, but like also pop culture wise, it was a long time ago. Like there's no evidence that anybody in this book has ever seen a year beginning with the letter 2. The letter 2? Really? Really, bitch? Okay. There's also the issue of how racial issues are dealt with in this book. As I said before, I am not an Indian American or a person of Indian descent. I am not Desi. I am extraordinarily white. I mean, just reflecting the sun. Can you even see me? Is it just a blank screen? What did I do to my neck? Holy crap. Like, scratch myself? Ow. As I said before, the character Violet was born in India and moved to Illinois when she was young, and according to this little blurb on the back, Minty Das was also born in India and moved to Illinois. At some point, it doesn't actually say. So obviously she, Minty, the author, knows what this experience is like far better than I do. And yet, every description of living with the type of racism that Violet is living with, both like explicit incidents and just like general attitudes that she describes encountering, feel incredibly generic. There's no specificity to them. It feels like, to be honest, a white person writing about racism. Like, it feels like what I might conjure up based on experiences I've heard from other people and things I've read online, but haven't actually experienced for myself, because there's no there. Like, to me, okay, how do I say what I want to say? Every time Violet is describing something that has been said to her, something that she deals with sort of as a recurring like microaggression, or something that like is actually like a plot point in the book, feels like something like I would read off of Twitter. And I don't just mean it's something people have talked about on Twitter, I mean almost word for word. I swear to God, I've read this in a tweet somewhere. I guess I just feel like there's no nuance to this. It's like surface level racism 101, which I feel like this book comes out in March 2020, and I feel like the intended audience for this, high school teens today, are past that. I know they're not everywhere, and I know that it's different, but I'm a millennial, a younger millennial, and when I was in high school, we were having discussions of institutionalized racism and social racism, and you know, the way things are like acceptable to say to each other and not. And I feel like Gen Z, the kids who are in high school now, are even better at having those conversations. Like, it just gets better as we go. So I feel like, you know, if I were a teen reading this, I was in high school in like 2011, if I had read this in 2011, I probably would have found this like groundbreaking. But I feel like in 2020, nothing in here is new. Nothing in here adds anything to the conversation about racism that's already being had. And again, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Like, maybe I don't have any right to say these things because I'm a white person and I'm not trying to dictate the conversation about what it's like to be an immigrant or an Indian American. I don't know, so I can't say. But I don't feel like I learned anything new from this book. I don't feel like I don't feel like I was able to empathize with Violet any more than I would be just like after reading one single tweet from someone on Twitter. not that you can't empathize from someone from one single tweet on Twitter, but if you're writing a book, you want more substance, you want more depth, and this felt so surface level and just like it was hitting all the check marks that you need to hit to have a book be about racism. I think maybe what the problem was is just so much of this book, like the plot of this book does not start until like literally the halfway point. Like that's when things like actually start happening. The first half of the book, nothing happens. Not a single event happens. It's so fucking boring. And then it's all just talking about what it's like to live in this small Illinois town as a brown girl, and like that's fine, but that's not a plot, that's an essay. Just write an essay if you want to do that. It's not the same thing as writing a fiction novel. I feel like the author could have had the same types of conversations that she wanted to have about race, especially race like in a high school setting, that she wanted to have, while just stretching the plot out more, because the entire plot of the book happens in the second half of the novel. Like literally, I remember I was at the exact halfway point, and it was just starting, and worked those conversations in more naturally, like had them come up more naturally. They just felt shoehorned in, like, oh, I haven't talked about a microaggression in 6 pages, gotta shove one in here. It doesn't feel real. Nothing in here felt real, which sounds ridiculous to say on a book that's about like fucking ghosts, but it doesn't feel real. But like all that aside, I'm not kidding, it's incredibly boring. Like it's just, I actually had a hard time putting it down because I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was just so like, I didn't care. I didn't care about a single character. I didn't care about the girl who died. I didn't care about the Violet's powers. It was just so boring, and every plot event that happened was so convenient. Like it was the thing that needed to happen to make the story go. It was just, and the same is true for her powers, as I said before, that it literally like, so in some cases ghosts can affect the physical world, and then in some cases they can't, and it's just like depends on whether or not they need to in that scene, if they do. It's so bad. Oh, super weird. So this story is told first person point of view. Violet, she talks in the I, but like 4 times throughout the course of the book, out of nowhere, a chapter will start, and it is told from the point of view of this character named Lucas in the third person. No explanation. I mean, it never lasts very long. Like usually, I think at most maybe like a page and a half. But I don't know why. We're just like all of a sudden like, oh, now we're over here with fucking Lucas, and we're listening to what he has to say, and then there'll be a break, and then it'll be back to Violet. And it's like, why was that? It never adds anything to the story. There's literally no point. And it's so jarring and, like I said, unnecessary. I hated it. It drove me crazy. She's got this like love interest who I couldn't tell you anything about him. I actually couldn't tell you anything about any of these characters except maybe the girl who died, because we spend a lot of time getting to know her, which is like cool, I guess. But I mean, I couldn't tell you anything about Violet. She is Indian. She doesn't want powers or to stand out in any way, and she apparently likes 80s movies. That's the sum total of what I know about her. None of these people have real personalities. We're just supposed to, like, I don't know if we're supposed to ship her with the guy who's her love interest. I can't tell you his name. I don't know it. It doesn't matter. He's totally irrelevant. Oh, there's like a, what do you call it? A cliffhanger at the end of this, so I'm assuming there's supposed to be a second book. I can't imagine wanting to read a book less. I don't get like it ends on this like crazy image like of something happening, and I'm just like, cool. I don't care. This book sucks, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is a debut novel, and I feel really bad. But this book is awful. It's horribly written. It's horribly organized. It does not make sense. The plot doesn't start until halfway through, so the first 150-ish pages are pointless. There's no point. It's been 150 pages doing nothing. Can I just give you an example? This is from literally page 2. I'm not spoiling anything. So Naomi is the name of the main girl who dies. That's not a spoiler. It's on the back of the book. You also, I promise you, spoilers don't matter. This book doesn't make any sense. But here's an example of some of the writing. I used to be a frequent guest at Naomi's house, back in the days before popularity, boys, and the amount of Instagram followers you had determined if you were good enough to be Naomi's friend. In fact, in that first year that the Talberts moved to Meadowdale, I was one of the only kids who came over. It seemed that most parents and their children weren't too keen on sleepovers with the dead. But that changed quickly as the Talberts rose to the town's social ranks and became Meadowdale royalty, with Naomi as the celebrated princess. Nowadays, everyone is just dying to hang out with the Talberts. What? What fucking year is this? Is this? Okay, I don't live in a small town, so, again, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but what? I could not tell you the name of a popular person in my high school. Couldn't tell you one, because there's no such thing as popularity these days, I feel like. Am I wrong? Like, what does it mean to be popular? It's such an antiquated idea of high school. It's the fact that it's still a trope drives me crazy, because, like, everyone just cares about their friends now. Like, there's such a thing as being popular in, like, social circles, but, like, in a whole fucking town? What? Like, no. For me, it's the writing. The fact that the writing is this bad. Like, how did this get published? That was not the worst example. It was just an example I could find very quickly. I don't tab books. I should tab instances of bad writing for, like, literally this. But the writing is so bad. I can't believe it got published. It actually kind of, like, gives me hope, because, like, if this gets published, well, maybe I could get published, but, like, oh boy. I really wanted to like this one too, because the plot sounded really cool. And I read a couple of Goodreads reviews, which was a mistake, but I read a couple of Goodreads reviews before I read the book, and it has a 2.21 star rating on Goodreads. I gave it a 1, in case you were wondering. I was hoping the book wasn't as bad as the review said. I really went into it, like, trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I was like, surely it cannot be as bad as it has been portrayed, and I was wrong. It's honestly worse. But I'm gonna stop shitting on this book now because I feel like a garbage person. Thank you for watching. I hope the audio didn't suck, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!